Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing good. I'm Psychosap and this is episode 13 of the F1 2022 calendar series. Today we will be following the Hungarian GP at the Hungaroring, which is the third shortest track on the F1 calendar and the second slowest right after Monaco. Now a lot of people mention this track as Monaco without the walls, and it is a tight circuit, makes it difficult for overtakes. It is a quite difficult track to drive overall, and we even see this in real life with a lot of struggling drivers. For example, Sergio Perez couldn't get a great position, and of course the Haas's were really bad this weekend, considering they're usually always up in the top 10, at least one of them. So this was my first lap out on a set of softs. Now we do have a rain forecast for Sunday's race, so I have set up the car accordingly, and that gives us P5, which isn't the best position. Now that's gonna definitely fall down after a while. Yeah, and so by the time I get back to the garage, we're already back down to 7th position, so we have to go again. And so far the laps have been going great. Now some of these corners are so tight and difficult. Maintaining the perfect amount of pace as well as track position is quite difficult, so you see me going wide multiple times overall. So this lap was about 8 tenths up on the previous time, and we're still just P4th, so that's not too bad, so let's go with it. We've gone a little higher on the ride height this weekend for the wet setup, but let's see how it goes. Of course, we have 3 other drivers ahead of us.
We're just 18 kilometres outside the city of Budapest here in Hungary, where today's Formula One race is about to take place. It's the Hungarian Grand Prix. Located 12 miles northeast of the Hungarian capital Budapest, the 14 corners of the Hungaroring are steeped in history and prestige. Overtaking's always been difficult on this technical 2.7-mile track, but the last few years in particular have turned up some exceptional races. So let's hope we're in for another one here today. So with the race not far away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. World champion Max Verstappen starts from pole position, with Charles Leclerc alongside. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Perez, Fernando Alonso and Sainz, Hamilton, Tsunoda, Ocon and Mick Schumacher, Bottas, Norris, Daniel Ricciardo and Gasly, Stroll, Magnussen, Alex Albon and Guan Yu Zhou, Vettel and Nicholas Latifi. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. And what would any Grand Prix weekend be without the one and only Natalie Pinkham? Why don't we kick off by discussing Max Verstappen?
Well, it was a really impressive lap in qualifying to get pole position, but are they going to be able to hold on to the lead into the first corner with so many quick starters around them? And of course, it's looking very close here today. A lot is going to be riding on those first few corners. And then the question becomes, who can manage their tyres so they're in a good position to push hard towards the end?
Okay, so unfortunately there is no rain at the moment. We can see some of the forecast towards the end of the race. So most of the car setup is going to be affecting me. But luckily I have managed to make it the best optimal setup. Now if it does start raining, we're going to have to get used to that and make sure the car is ready for that. So that was the whole intent of setting up the car for the wets. But unfortunately, lucky number 13 or whatever, we don't have rain, so we're gonna have to go with it. Now the first turn, which is a sharp right-hander, is probably the best overtaking zone because we have a deep braking zone, and anybody can make a mistake there and go a little wide, which will affect the positions. So let's see. We're ready then for the Hungarian Grand Prix round 13 before the summer break. And it's lights out and away we go. We get a great start, and we do see a lot of cars getting better starts right behind us. But we have the Alpines and another Ferrari right there on our tail. And we go deep dive into the corner. We make perfect 2 positions, double overtake, just like I said, one of the best braking zones for overtakes. Now it may not be easy to make it stick, and Max Verstappen's already pulling away, so I am lacking a little bit of pace with the little different setup from the other cars. As Leclerc attempts to make a move around the outside, but he doesn't get the space and he has to recede that position. Now these couple of corners are my weakest and I keep going wide here, but we can see Charles Leclerc with a little slap of oversteer that put him out of position. Now that will allow George Russell to get much closer and maybe make a move on him. George Russell taking the outside line, and we can see the Alpine Fernando Alonso also making a move on Carlos Sainz behind, but Russell wasn't able to make that move stick. But Alpines, wow, they're on a charge today. Last time around, Charles Leclerc made a mistake here, but this time can he get closer to me? I go wide again, and Charles Leclerc gets a tighter and better line out of the corner. A tiny bit of tire bumping as well to show who's in power of the position, but with a little bit of ERS we can just stay side by side. Of course the Ferrari also has a DRS and he does get ahead, but we now go three-way through that corner, and somehow Leclerc has lost some traction through that corner and we are able to maintain that position. But Leclerc is still side by side and he's gained the traction through the next few corners where I have gone wider. I am just protecting and defending for P2 here. So George Russell takes a little bit of a peek, doesn't find enough room on the outside of Charles Leclerc, so he will have to try another time, but the Mercedes does look pretty fast. So there goes another mistake from me and gives Charles Leclerc a little bit of an empty room to fit his car through, but he doesn't get enough space. But again, another mistake, and going wide has been a big problem in this track for me so far. I've been going wide in so many corners, and surprisingly there are no track limit violations. Now we see Fernando Alonso going in deep for a double overtake, but he doesn't make it through Charles Leclerc. But that doesn't mean he's given up, and he's gonna try again sometime. And Charles Leclerc makes up a position. He's overtaken me. Will I also be losing a position to Fernando Alonso? Yes, I have lost almost 3 positions now. George Russell is also side by side. Now with DRS, we're gonna have to brake late into that corner to make any moves, and almost off the track to find some space there. We didn't get the last few moments of the overtake, but let's take a quick replay of that overtake. So we have DRS and we have George Russell on the right hand side, but he clears out knowing that there won't be enough space on the outside, and we go right through Alonso. Now he's left a lot of space there, so beautiful, respectful racing from the AI of Fernando Alonso. Now it's not long before Charles Leclerc is again challenging for positions, and we can see George Russell there making a move on Carlos Sainz, and Leclerc's ahead of Alonso and he's also going around the outside of me. Beautiful traction there in the Ferrari, but he just doesn't make that move stick right there. But then he has better traction in the next few corners, and that's going to give him an edge. And he's still behind me though, but he does have that DRS boost. Now Alonso's also got a really quick car, and we can see Mercedes also pulling off a double overtake on Alonso and Charles Leclerc. Wow, what is going on today? So many combo overtakes. A double overtake again for George Russell. Now last time he took a peek on Charles Leclerc, didn't find enough space. This time he peeks on me, still doesn't find enough space, and he goes a little bit wider. Fernando says thank you very much, and there he goes. And a few corners later again, Fernando says thank you very much, and he goes ahead of me as well. But we're not going to let him take that position. He is not a faster car. That's what I told myself at least that point. But we did actually make that move. So we go wide again. This is such a weak spot. We've both decided to pit at the same time, but I was on the right side and Fernando was coming so close. So we almost there made contact, but I literally had to go over the curbs there to avoid touching Fernando. So we've actually stopped first there, so we're coming out of the pits as well before everyone. Now Alonso's taken around 6 laps to get closer to me after the pit stop, and he's trying to make a move down the outside, and he makes contact. There wasn't enough room there, and I did try to close the door on a little bit. Maybe it is a racing incident, but since there wasn't much, so I think they wouldn't consider a penalty. But let's see then. Charles Leclerc has also gotten a lot more closer, and Fernando shuts the door on him. A little bit of a late braking move, but I guess they made it stick. But Charles Leclerc is not giving up. With the help of little DRS, he gets straight ahead of Fernando Alonso. Now behind them we can see another Ferrari move on Esteban Ocon. That's a double Ferrari overtake. Now fantastic. A couple of laps later we can see a little bit of a position shuffling going on here, and little tiny mistakes from each driver just allows another to pass. So that's what we saw there with Charles Leclerc and Alonso. Now Alonso does still stay ahead, but Charles Leclerc with the fastest car quickly gains some pace and he's able to make that move on Fernando Alonso, but Alonso's still there on the outside. But this time around I think Alonso will be able to hold that position until the pit straight. So let's see then. He still has that position side by side. There go the two cars. But yeah, so Fernando Alonso has lost the position before the DRS straight, which gives him a little bit of an advantage because he now has DRS, and Esteban Ocon as well pulling an overtake on Carlos Sainz. Now we have a double Alpine overtake again. Now exactly what the Ferraris did to the Alpines, and the Alpines have come back and done to the Ferraris, but they haven't done it so cleanly because of having a slightly slower car, so they're still side by side both. And finally we have a shuffle. We see the Ferraris are still ahead, but they did try to make an attempt. Now we have Pierre Gasly, maybe a little bit of mistake from Esteban Ocon, gets ahead for a moment there and stays ahead for now, but Esteban Ocon still side by side, and of course with a little bit of pace and a late braking he gets through, maintains that position, fends off Pierre Gasly for now. Now it seems Mr. Alonso has had a bad lap, and that is allowing Carlos Sainz to get so much closer and challenge for that position. But let's see which of the two Spaniards are gonna come out stronger. So the DRS straight may make the difference, but as of now Carlos Sainz is ahead, and we can see so much more pace and traction through those last few corners in the Ferrari. He's also found a lot more pace in the last few laps, and we can see that. And Charles Leclerc goes wide, a little step of oversteer again. Carlos Sainz goes through, and the other Spaniard, Fernando Alonso, is also coming for the position, but he finally is able to fend that off, and Charles Leclerc is also trying a little dive down the inside. Carlos Sainz, and the two Ferraris side by side through the corners, and hopefully the nightmare situation of the contact between them will not happen. And we're still a little bit lonely up ahead, but not for long. Now we can see Charles Leclerc constantly trying to get that position back from Carlos, but he's just not letting him pass. Going deeper in the braking corners is also not helping Charles Leclerc. So let's see. A couple of drops of rain have started to fall, and we see a little snap there for Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari. A little mistake that could deprive him of his current position. Charles Leclerc still doesn't find the right traction to get through the corners. But that of course was the final lap, and we were just lucky enough to miss the rain, but the last lap there was quite slippery, but we've pulled it off. And Carlos Sainz then driver of the day. What a fantastic race, so many combinations of overtakes. There we go then, another double podium for Red Bull. Max Verstappen wins and we're down there in P3. George Russell comes in second. Interestingly enough, he's also qualified on pole position there in the Hungaroring yesterday. So that's just fantastic, and I'm so excited to see what he can do from that position with the two blazing Ferraris right behind him. What a fun race, guys. We now have the summer break and we'll be coming back with Belgium very soon. So stick around, stay tuned, check out the other races that you might have missed. Until then, thanks for watching. I hope you guys are enjoying these videos. We're halfway through the season. So thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next one.